Namaskar. I would like to thank Ramanujan College for inviting me as a resource person for the faculty development program being organized by the TLC Center. So first, my thanks goes to Professor S.P. Agarwal, the principal of the college, then the team of the Teaching Learning Center, Ramanujan College, Department of Environmental Studies, Ramanujan College, the convener, Dr. Tenzin Thakur, the organizing team of Dr. Shraddha Avasthi, Ms. Charvi Kapoor, Ms. Jyoti Kushwaha, the coordinator, and the technical team. Thank you so much for inviting me to give my point of view on the topic. So I'll share my screen. So as the title says, it's a 2-week online interdisciplinary refresher course in environment related to human health. And the topic given to me was unequal distribution and consumption of natural resources with reference to human health. Now, when we talk about this topic, unequal distribution and consumption of natural resources, there's a very thin line when we talk about natural resources. The unequal distribution and consumption in modern terms cannot be easily defined. Had it been in the olden ages, it would have been easy that iron is found in this place much more than at other places. But in modern technology, we easily find that we are importing and exporting these resources easily, whether it is a renewable source or a non-renewable source. And the special thing in this topic is the reference to the human health. And indeed, it is very concerning. So the title, which is unequal distribution and natural resources, this will cover 3 areas. That is the usage of natural resources, the effect it causes on the environment, the climate, and the biosphere as a whole, and how that effect affects the humans, the health of the humans staying in that area. So before we move further, let's understand what exactly are natural resources. So as you can see on the screen, we have in basic, in a very broad terms, we can define natural resources in 2 ways. That is the biotic and the abiotic. Biotic, I think many of you really understand what exactly is biotic. That is the matter that is derived from living or organic material. It includes both the type of biotic can be, biotic can be further divided into 2, the renewable and the non-renewable sources. Renewable, forest and wildlife, crops, other living organisms. Non-renewable, coal, oil and natural gas. Then the abiotic, you have the minerals, wind, water. So let's understand what exactly is biotic and how our country, India, is affected by it, whether we are good in it or whether we are bad at it when we compare it to the national level. On the right hand side of the screen, you can see the map of India. It's a very basic map which shows this, which shows the distribution of the natural resources in India in basic terms. So when we see the yellow portion, okay, the yellow portion is in medium terms. It, the natural resources data is not only of like one natural, whether it is minerals. The data over here in this map is considering each and every natural resource, whether it is fresh water, whether it is wind, whether it is the minerals present in that area, or the forest cover area, or what you call the agriculture pattern. So this area, this map covers all natural resources. So let's talk about the basic data, forest and wildlife. Why are why is this nation still dependent upon the forest and wildlife? What for? Still we find that there are many people who are living, there are many citizens who are living around this like the eminent forest of India, okay, for their requirements of firewood, paper, spices, drugs. You know, almost a contribution of 16 to 21% of India's GDP is obtained from forest resources and wildlife resources. Okay, and to tell you more, like almost India's forest cover area is nearly 24.5% of the total geographical area that India has is covered with forest. So that's a very good point. But gradually we are, you really find all these data on your in your newspapers and all those Google internet, that the forest area is decreasing day by day, right? So still we are at a little good level that we have a good cover of forest area. And in fact, India is lucky enough that it has everything for itself. There are variations from high rainfall to deserts, from coastline to high mountains. We have tropical areas, we have swamps, we have mangroves, we have Himalayas. So we have everything. These variations you don't find in each and every country. And that is why we have this, you know, a very fertile land, a very fertile land, whether it is the northern plains of the Satluj or Ganga or the Brahmaputra Valley, yeah, or the Brahmaputra Valley, we have been lucky enough to grow good crops like wheat, rice, maize. We have been doing. So we are lucky that we have good biotic resources and we have been utilizing it. So other than that, when we talk about the other living organisms, let's take, for example, the fisheries. We have the freshwater fishes also. We have freshwater lakes also in India. We have a good amount of rivers also. And we have a long coastline also, right? Almost like we have 8,001, 8,130 kilometers of long coastline India has. Okay. And when we talk about the freshwater resources, almost nearly 400 type of species of fish which are economically important can be found in the freshwater resources of India. So when we talk about natural resources in terms of India, we are very lucky. Okay. So and let's move on to like coal, oil, and natural gas. Although we have not so high content of oil and natural gas, the oil being found in like almost 150 years back, the first one in the Digboi in 1889, when we found the first oil reserve in India, and then to Mumbai, Bombay High, and like we don't have, but still we don't have good amount of natural resources in terms of the non-renewable sources on which the current economy depends, right? So like India has nearly just about 0.3% of total oil available on this planet as per recorded data. Okay, so I still, but when we talk about coal, we indeed have good amounts of coal in some states like Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, and Madhya Pradesh. And when we talk about natural gas, we do not have much, but still we do find it. Natural gas, we find it in Tirupura and Krishna Godavari basin. So when we talk about biotic, we are indeed lucky that we have good amount of resources. Now let's move on to the abiotic. What exactly is abiotic? Abiotic natural resources are those non-living or non-organic materials. These are those physical factors also, which affect the ecosystem, like the wind and the water. Now that depends upon us. How do we use it? Are we able to utilize it properly or not? So, but indeed, India is lucky enough in this pattern also that we have a good amount of wind, we have good amount of water also. In fact, the highest rainfall received at any place is in India itself. And we have minerals also, although not some of the minerals are indeed we are good at, like the iron, the manganese, the copper, zinc, limestone, and tungsten, and various other minerals. But yeah, there is indeed a deficiency of some minerals when we are talking about the future prospects. Like to give you an example, we have this EVs, electrical vehicles, which are coming, and you need those lithium batteries. The overall, uh, as per recorded data till now, India has just 1,600 tons of lithium resources present in India. So we still need a lot of resources when we talk about minerals, but still we have good that we have good amount of iron. Then there is one factor also, that is the soil. Soil can be considered as biotic and abiotic, as you can easily understand. When we talk about the crops, it comes into the terminology of a biotic, but when we are talking about minerals, it can be considered as an abiotic. So soil is the one which, you know, can be both biotic and abiotic. So this was a basic understanding of what do we mean by natural resources. Yes, the next is, that is the unequal distribution. Yeah, this is a very concerning feature, but as a human, you can't help it, since we are not able to decide where we are going to take birth. So, and how will we be affected? But the unequal, this topic of unequal distribution is a very important topic. So the natural resources, as we all know, some places indeed have good amount of what you call natural resources of some resource, and some places do not have a good amount. So let's talk about, as I said, that India is a very blessed nation with respect to natural resources. If I compare India with what you call natural resources in terms of oil, we are far behind like nations like Saudi Arabia, okay, or United Arab Emirates, who indeed have a huge amount of oil reserves. But when we talk about the fresh waters, or when I talk about the forest cover, India is much more richer in that context. Overall, also, if we talk about this nation, India is much more abundant in natural resources. Okay, and natural resources, in fact, we are having abundant natural resources when we talk about their economic value also, and their importance for the human life also. I'll give you a basic rule. Since I am from the chemistry background, there is one rule that is called the Odo-Harkins rule, which will give you a little hint about how the spread of these minerals has been, can be analyzed. So the Odo-Harkins rule says that an element with an even atomic number, such as the carbon having an atomic number of 6, is more abundant than elements which are adjacently larger and are having odd atomic number. So when we talk about like the boron having an atomic number of 5, or when we talk about nitrogen having an element number of 7, we find that they are much more less in comparison to carbon, which is having an even atomic number. So when you go for this geographical analysis, you can, this will give you a fair idea, if you get to know the atomic number of that element, that what its concentration might be on this planet. Although there are some indeed exceptions to this rule also, but they are very few. So how are the resources distributed? We need to understand this also before we move on further. Resources are distributed throughout the planet in an uneven manner. See, I have given over here a what you call picture of the distribution of groundwater resources of India. Okay, and as you can easily see that the the white areas are the safe area where the still the water table is in good terms. Yellow are at the critical level. The blue are at the semi-critical level. The red ones are overexploited. Okay, and the green are saline. So, if you talk about the state of Rajasthan or some areas of Madhya Pradesh also, and when we come down to the south areas, they are overexploited. That is, the ground level, water level has reduced. And when we talk about the groundwater level, that means the resources will be obviously affected. You can't, like in a developing nation like India, we still don't have canals and waterways, so that fresh water from rivers there can be, provided at all the places. There is still, at the what you call the interconnection of rivers still going on. So we find many areas which are indeed in a high need of water. And the strangest part is generally we understand that the water level may be low at areas like Rajasthan or like around Delhi or Madhya Pradesh, but in south of India, the water level is being overexploited. And it won't take a long time, then they will be at a very, very bad phase. So this understanding that that some areas do indeed have better access of some resource as compared to other. If we talk about Madhya Pradesh, they indeed have high dense cover area, forest area. They indeed have good mineral content. But when we talk about a state like Delhi, we are completely dependent upon others. Whether it is for fresh water, we are putting all those pipelines, bringing the Ganga water river, Ganga water, and the Ganga water to Delhi. What has happened to the natural resource existing over here in Delhi itself? We have a huge river like Yamuna. We have a huge river like Hindon, but we are not at all utilizing it. So when we talk about the resource distribution, the resource we had, but we have exploited it so much that we do not have access to it anymore. So we were rich in fresh water when we are talking about like 100 years back or 200 years back, the area around Delhi. But when we talk about in the present terms, we are not at all rich in fresh water context, the state of Delhi. So, there is a variation, there is a variation in concentration or the amount of resources at particular areas. And this abundance varies with time. And it all depends on how we as humans are using it. Once what you call a natural resource is either overexploited, the geography, the environment of that area is hugely affected, and automatically we as a humans are also affected, because we are completely dependent. Human is completely dependent for each and everything on nature, on the natural resources. Whatever type of technology you may make or you may bring in, but still ultimately you will depend upon fresh water, fresh air, fresh food to stay healthy. So health is a big concern when we are talking about resource exploitation, resource distribution, resource consumption. So over here, when we are talking about the distribution of resources, it's a very important parameter that resource distribution needs to be analyzed and channelized. As soon as possible, the public and the government takes command of it, it will be better.